Okay, after posting, or rather waiting for the Sunday, January 14th video to post, I got started. So, got River Song fixed. That is a very tiny join on her wrist for that gun, so we'll see how that holds up. And then I moved on to these four and got them based and assembled and whatnot. That was pretty easy. I needed some more fine-tuned, I guess. I was using just some Gorilla Glue gel, so I wanted to get a better CA glue so I could work on these guys, because I have some very small joints, and you can see where that bow arm is, a very tiny joint, and those Mariners, the crossbow, the bow itself is joined to the main part of the gun. Pain in the neck to get those assembled. They're going to be very fragile. Then I got that RAFM Cheetah back together. It's pretty easy, just had an arm knocked off. And then I cleaned up and mounted the Mein Kamerad figure. I think I did a pretty good job on the cleanup. There's some old lines and I got in there really good. And really happy with how that turned out. And I'm excited to paint this guy because he's a dramatic figure hauling a wounded guy in what's almost certainly Stalingrad. And then I started to work on the Band of Brothers pull-to-action figures that I'm going to be using for Chain of Command. And I did this work a while ago, where I essentially disassembled one sprue of the GIs, the paratroopers, and my goodness, there's so many little pieces. This was a mistake, and I recommend anybody who's building this, don't do it this way. You can take the bodies off, and some of the easily identifiable pieces like the backpacks and that kind of thing. But the arms took me a while to figure out, and there is a mislabeled piece. You can see 14 there is labeled as, let me get that out of the way, as a BAR right arm. And you can look at 14 right there. BAR right arm, a guy actually shooting with the BAR. So that is not what that is. And I had to spend some time figuring it out. So I had to get it out on the sprue, and I had to do side by side. And, you know, this view is 2D and doesn't line up with what the 3D looks like. Little bitty pieces, so I'm dropping them on the ground. And I have a carpet that's, you know, gray, so those pieces like fade into it like camouflage. Took me a little bit to figure out, but I got them all separated now, and I'm going to get assembling these guys. What I'm going to try to do is get one squad of the Americans and one squad of the German Panzer Grenadiers I have, according to chain of command, and then I'm going to run them head to head, because I haven't played chain of command yet, and try to grok some of the rules and get those under my belt, and add on some of the other elements as I go along. I figure if I get them mounted and looking like soldiers, that's good enough, and I can worry about painting them later. That's halfway, not halfway, but part of the way towards the goal. Meanwhile, I can, work on these cats up here. I do have some brush on primer, well, airbrush, but I can use it for, I watched a video, and you can easily airbrush the primer on, because it's been pretty chilly, obviously for most of the country, but in the Pacific Northwest it's always rainy, so there's not a really good opportunity to spray prime. So I'm going to try that with these guys and then see how that goes. But meanwhile, just getting these assembled for some chain of command test play. All right.
Okay. The section immediately preceding this was recorded 2 weeks ago, and if you watched last week's video, you know I was cleaning up a flood mess from my washer that busted and decided to keep filling up with water. So that interrupted progress. I got those models assembled, and then I moved on to these. Then I had to clean up the flood, and then got back on this. So this is the Moiler Games Band of Brothers starter kit, and as I said a couple weeks ago, I'm trying to get or in the previous video, rather, the previous stitch that I'm attaching this to, I'm trying to get a squad of the U.S. Airborne and a squad of the German Panzer Grenadiers together so I can just run them head to head. Anyway, that farmhouse building right there, outbuilding, I assembled that some weeks ago, I want to say before the holidays. So it's been sitting around for a while. You saw my collection of bits and my complaint about my methodology. I got all that sorted though, and worked on a second sprue to get these guys built. The 30 cal is, those guys are not attached. I'm still debating whether I want to paint them separately and assemble after I get them painted. But the rest of these guys are ready to go. And you can see I made the decision not to necessarily, on the second sprue, I made the decision not to necessarily include every little bit and bob. The first sprue I got really, I gotta put a backpack on everybody. I gotta put a med kit on everybody. And after a while, I'm like, let's just make them individual. I looked at some stock photos, and in combat, the guys weren't usually wearing their backpacks, so I figured it'd be, dynamic maybe, or interesting to have a couple of different kits. So like this guy, he doesn't have a backpack, but he's got his his fanny pack with the shovel and that kind of a thing. So then I built the actual farmhouse itself. It's a cool little building. There are some things that are a little weird about it to me, like there's an actual, hard to see in the light there, but there's a chimney and there's no fireplace, so I decided to put one of the rubble bits there to maybe signify the fireplace. And the chimney, you can see there's a little gap back there through the hole. How does the chimney hold up with that gaping hole? It's difficult to assemble this without that sort of anomaly showing up. I guess you could putty it over or something like that, or maybe it's just a random knockout of the wall there that created that. And then started working on my German Panzer Grenadiers. So got two of these guys done. I'm gonna do, I think my list here is looking like this. So I'm doing this. The Americans up there are done, and then I'm going to be working on the Germans next. As you can see, they're all going to be strutting around with the K98s, except for the Werke Freide, and then two MG42 teams. This is based on the list that is in the Chain of Command Corps rules, so that's what I'm running with. I think I pointed these out for bolt action, and I think I can get some of these guys onto like a 250 point list for bolt action. But maybe I'll touch on that later. Anyway, good good progress, and looking forward to getting more of these Germans done and getting some painting done. I keep coming up with excuses to not start painting, but gonna get it done, and hopefully next week. Next week I probably might not have a video. We'll see. Anniversary coming up, but hopefully have some actual partly painted minis here soon. Anyway, thanks for watching.